The message from the constellation of the Master of Maneuvers opens up new horizons for Kang Guo. It grants him a small supply of holy power that favorably affects his further growth, increasing his experience by 0.1%. This blessed energy, though seemingly meager, has a significant impact on his path of self-improvement. Kang Guo feels like a gentle but powerful flow of holy energy. Kang Guo, reflecting on the message from the system, reflects on the support he has received. Dimensional Stealer, a little support, a drop in the bucket. It even seems a bit dismissive to me. He prefers to use this situation as an opportunity for self-improvement. In return, I will do my best, Kang Guo says with a sense of duty, ready to use the experience to achieve his goals. The message instructs Kang Guo to engage the enemy, who is trying to escape and refuses to accept defeat. I will do so. Kang Guo responds to the message, preparing to act. He moves toward his opponent, demonstrating his readiness to complete the task at hand. Denying his opponent a quick death, Kang Guo is confronted with his cries of pain and contempt. You bastard, leave me alone! Will capturing someone like me really give you anything? Do you think it will do you any good? These are the words of a homeless man trying to find his place in the conflict, expressing his pain and frustration. Kang Guo, whose eyes glisten with drops of blood, says with concentration that if the opportunity to change the world was to remove criminals from it, he would have done so long ago. His memories take him back to the days when he led an office life, reminding him of the road he chose. He raises his sword high above the homeless man's head, expressing the resolve of his words, ready to complete his task. I should have done it a long time ago. The lightning strike of the sword cuts the homeless man in half, taking away his gift of life. This is the moment when Kang Guo makes the final choice, realizing his mission. The system immediately notifies Kang Guo that the task has been completed. Target killed. Chaos Fighter contract completed. The Chaos Fighter is now under the control of the Dimension Stealer. You have inherited all the abilities of a Chaos Fighter. After completing the mission, Kang Guo dematerializes his sword and reviews his stats. Scrolling down the page of statistics symbolizes reflection on how each of his actions affects his development and path in this world. As he scrolls down the page of his achievements, Kang Guo discovers that he has inherited the abilities Blindness and Light Chaos from his opponent. Great, I'm lucky again, he thinks, evaluating the new opportunities that have opened up before him. With a smile on his face, Kang Guo reflects, maybe I should take this item as well. Pointing to his opponent's belongings that might be of value, Kang Guo picks up his opponent's trophy item, thinking to himself, even though undressing men is not on my list of hobbies, but hinting at the importance of the prize. He recognizes the necessity of these items for his future adventures and begins to choose the most valuable ones, showing his pragmatism. After undressing his opponent, Kang Guo carefully examines the loot, reflecting on its usefulness. These treasures, which are meant for level 50, are certainly difficult to evaluate immediately, but these items will prove to be extremely useful, he decides, assessing the potential of his new equipment. Kang Guo puts the glove on his hand, and his eyes light up with excitement. This will be perfect, especially if I use it with the throwing dagger, he thinks as he tries out the new weapon. Putting the armor on his chest, Kang Guo instantly feels its effect on his health. This item is undoubtedly worth it to effectively increase my health, he says, grateful for the significant boost. The endurance ring fits perfectly on his index finger. For such a valuable thing, you can't let the opportunity go to waste, Kang Guo says, appreciating every aspect of his new gear. His attention is particularly drawn to the Evil God amulet, which Kang Guo spins in his hands. This amulet consumes a unit of mana per second, but at the same time reduces the recharge time of skills when you wake up. He muses, realizing the potential benefits of using such a powerful artifact. He realizes that the equipment he has received is an important boost for him, despite the fact that his opponent was left lifeless on the ground. He resolutely sends the new items to his inventory, regardless of the circumstances of his victory. I don't care because I got valuable things, he says, looking at his trophies. I think I found the right item, Wen says, thinking about the possibilities of selling the level 9 trophies he won. I can get a good amount of money from them, he plans, already calculating future profits. It would be nice to reach level 20 along the way. Wen expresses his intentions as he moves on from the ruins of the building, his face full of satisfaction. He knows that he is getting closer to the killer eater skill that lies in his path. Passing through the abandoned city, shrouded in red light and filled with an unknown contagion, Wen keeps his dagger at the ready, wary of monsters. However, to his surprise, he encounters none on his way. Analyzing the surrounding area, Wen intuitively feels that this is the perfect place for an ambush. He carefully examines every nook and cranny, planning his next steps. Moving through the streets of the abandoned city with confident and calm steps, Wen notices a distant glint of light from the window of a building. It catches his attention. This gleam belongs to Wen's old friends who have been following him for a long time and carefully watching his every move. They are in covert surveillance, ready to act. Among them, a girl suggested, "Let's finish him off once and for all," to which the muscular guy replies, "Let's do it." You can hear the determination and readiness for action in their voices. After the command, one of the wards, holding a sack, realizes that it is time to act. Their plan of attack begins, which promises new challenges for Wen. The muscular guy smiles with enthusiasm as he prepares for the challenge. He puts his plan into action, hoping to surprise Kang-go. "Challenge accepted," replies his accomplice with a sack containing unusual animals. His eyes shine with joy before he sets them free. With the order, "Wash him properly," the red-eyed animals are quickly released from the bag to test Kang-go, forcing him to expend his strength. The rabbits, mutated and aggressive, rush at Kang-go, showing their teeth and spitting saliva. Their attack seems ruthless and uncontrollable. Kang-go sees this threat as an opportunity to test himself. He is ready to fight, knowing that this is a great opportunity to improve his skills. With incredible speed and precision, Kang-go instantly deals with his attackers, cutting them to pieces with his skillful punches. His actions demonstrate his skill and confidence in his abilities. The fight with the mutated hares ends in a storm of blood, which becomes a catalyst for the growth of our hero's level. Each falling enemy only adds to his strength. Upon reaching level 20, Kang-go receives an encouraging message from the system. Finally, he thinks, feeling satisfied with reaching this important milestone. With the new level, Kang-go gains the basic skill of the assassin class, Quick Strike, which is upgraded to Bleeding Strike thanks to the constellation's influence. This new skill promises to significantly increase his combat potential. Bleeding Strike increases the bleeding effect with each subsequent hit on the target. Kang-go feels his combat capabilities increase, grateful for this gift of fate. Watching the development of events, the team of rogues who have been following Kang-go does not hide their surprise. "He did it too easily," says a girl, pointing to Kang-go's seemingly effortless success. But the muscular guy on the rogue team, 6, decides to take advantage of the moment when Kang-go seems to have let his guard down. He jumps down with such force that the asphalt beneath him cracks, setting the stage for a new fight. Hoping to surprise Kang-go, a muscular guy with a sword suddenly appears in front of him, intending to cut the hero in two in one fell swoop. However, when he strikes with all his might at the place where Kang-go had just been standing, the impact causes a powerful tear that destroys everything around him. But Kang-go was no longer there. He had managed to avoid the attack. Kang-go uses the skill Leap, thanks to which he instantly avoids the enemy's attack. The enemy, surprised that his plan has failed, feels disappointed and defeated. Kang-go thinks about who it could be and what his attacker's goal is. "Who's trying to kill me? Clearly this attacker didn't just want to steal my stuff. Otherwise he wouldn't have taken such a radical risk," he reflects. The muscular guy, frustrated by his miss, radiates an angry energy that swirls around him. His aura is on fire, emphasizing his intentions and readiness for the next battle. The big man is not going to give up without a fight and prepares to attack Kang-go once again, who activates the jerk power to perform an unexpected maneuver. Like lightning, Kang-go instantly moves to the enemy's right flank, demonstrating his incredible speed and skill in using surprise tactics. The big man is frozen with surprise, unable to realize how Kang-go could move so deftly and unnoticed. He finds himself trapped, unexpectedly discovering the enemy right in front of him with a dagger in his hand. Kang-go takes advantage of his opponent's surprise and stabs the big man, then quickly retreats, keeping his distance to assess the situation. The system reminds Kang-go of the bleeding punch, which is to strike 10 times to reduce the enemy's ability to regenerate. Reading this, Kang-go realizes the need to keep attacking to effectively use his new skills and weaken his opponent. Kang Guo turns around and finds that his attack has not had a significant effect on the opponent. The opponent is standing firmly on his feet, as if ready to continue the battle. "How can you call that an attack?" the opponent says with a sneer as his wound quickly stops bleeding. He looks invulnerable, showing Kang Guo his true power. Fans and friends of the Berserker warrior gather around, watching the fight with admiration. They rejoice in the skill of their leader, noting his inexhaustible endurance and ability to become only stronger with each blow. A Berserker warrior with a huge sword takes aim at Kang Guo, but he manages to dodge the fatal blow. The red aura that explodes around the attack envelops the space, but does not touch Kang Guo. At this moment, Kang Guo realizes that his opponent is much stronger than he could have ever imagined. Determined, Kang Guo is not going to back down. He realizes that regardless of his opponent's strength, he must continue to fight. "Even if he's stronger than me, I'll keep attacking, hitting him hard," Kang Guo says, showing his unwavering will to win. The Berserker, despite the barrage of blows from Kang Guo, gladly accepts the challenge. As if in battle he finds his true calling, asking for more and more attacks. Kang Guo shouts the challenge, "I will hit you at least 4 times, defining his target for the next series of attacks. He rushes forward with determination, pushing off the ground with such force that he kicks up clouds of dust behind him, demonstrating his strength and speed. The Berserker is bewildered by Kang Guo's sudden and meteoric attack, feeling for the first time in the entire fight that his abilities are truly challenged. As he prepares for the final blow, Kang Guo activates the dark energy he received from his previous opponent, hoping to use it to strengthen his attack against the indestructible Berserker. Enveloped in darkness, our warrior is filled with powerful shadow energy and unleashes the devastating blindness skill against his opponent with the skill of a master of darkness. The black energy, like the wind of night, closes the eyes of the muscular opponent, depriving him of his sight. The strong man finds himself trapped in misunderstanding, losing his orientation in space. The unexpected chaos that our defender of justice throws around leaves the opponent in a state of shock. Even in his armor and power, he feels defenseless in the face of Kang Guo's unstoppable strength. Our warrior, without wasting a second, strikes many blows, each of which leaves bleeding wounds on the enemy's body. His attacks are full of internal energy, which only adds weight to each blow. However, to the surprise of our hero, even many wounds cannot inflict fatal damage on the Berserker. This futility of effort begins to irritate the warrior, because with each attack the enemy only seems stronger. But Kang Guo is not going to give up. He continues to attack, developing his abilities and even improving the blindness skill to use it against an indestructible opponent. After some time, the blindness skill becomes more effective, but the Berserker adapts and begins to see through this blindness, restoring his ability to see our hero. The Berserker's gaze intersects with Kang Guo's. "What tricks? Have you run out of them?" The enemy challenges, preparing to strike a decisive blow to tear Kang Guo apart. In the midst of the battle, Kang Guo reveals another card from his sleeve, causing a real tremor to grip the Berserker, confusing his senses. The Berserker finds himself unable to understand what is happening. A sharp pain in his head begins to consume him, weakening his strength with every passing second. Watching from cover, the Berserker's friends feel worried as they see their leader's failures and struggles. "Something's wrong," says a girl from his team, holding her comrade who is already beginning to sweat with excitement, anticipating something bad. The Berserker himself, with clenched teeth, tries to push away the feeling of imminent defeat, reminding himself of his unique ability to grow stronger during battle. However, it seems that this time something has gone wrong. Kang Guo, skillfully using his new skill, Abduction, drives the Berserker crazy, enhancing the effect of disorientation, and controls the situation by manipulating his opponent. The warrior's dagger rushes straight to the muscular opponent, promising to deliver the decisive blow in this intense battle. Kang Guo's blade unmistakably pierces the armor of the muscular Berserker, spraying blood in all directions. Agony and anger are reflected in the enemy's eyes as he coughs up the pain. "You may be a Berserker, but in the end you are only human. If you lose too much blood, you'll die," our hero calmly and confidently proclaims, facing the Berserker's fierce gaze. The Berserker falls unconscious from a powerful blow, closing his eyes forever. Kang Guo, confident in his victory, stands over the prey, inspecting his work. The Berserker's hidden friends, who have been watching the fight, quickly realize that it's time for them to flee, realizing the danger the victor poses to them. He was not so easy, they realize, deciding to retreat. Kang Guo finds a plant that restores health, and while eating it, he reflects on the source of the constant challenges in his life. Where do these assholes come from? Nothing can be done. The hunt is on, he says, feeling his strength restored. The battle is over. The berserker falls silent and exhales his last breath, leaving this world. The system sends a notification to Kang Guo about the successful completion of the mission. Your favorite task is completed. The Blood Devourer contract is now yours. The system's notification brings satisfaction to Kang Guo, who is happy that the Blood Eater now increases his strength. It's a recognition of his skill and courage. This is the second success, our hero thinks, analyzing his achievements and realizing that his skills continue to grow. Raising his gaze to the heavens, Kang Guo asks a rhetorical question. Why don't you support me? He is looking for signs and guidance on his path, perhaps expecting support from invisible forces. The system's response to his appeal is unexpectedly harsh and ironic. You're a crazy jerk. This is a reminder that his path is one of loneliness and independence, where he must rely only on his own strength and determination. A notification from the VIP system confirms the successful completion of the task. Target killed. The Blood Eater contract is now yours. This is the second success in a day for Kang Guo, emphasizing his skill and dedication to his path. Constellation sends Kang Guo information about the Blood Devourer skill, which provides neutrality to mental attacks with increased immunity when health is low. Constellation, which protects against mental attacks? Not bad, Kang Guo muses, recognizing the potential benefits of this achievement. Passing by the body of a muscular enemy, Kang Guo finds a new piece of equipment, a bracelet that enhances protection against magical attacks and special shoes that increase his speed. The glow-in-the-dark shoes become visible in the frame, making Kang Guo stand out among the dark alleys of the city. In his inventory, Kang Guo discovers another valuable item, gloves that increase endurance. He carefully examines them, assessing their potential benefits. As he puts the gloves on, he feels that they fit perfectly. One glove increases stamina, the other is specialized for throwing. It's a harmonious combination that perfectly complements his fighting style. It perfectly complements my abilities, the warrior says. After checking his new equipment and achievements, it's time for Kang Guo to complete his mission and move on to new horizons. He leaves the battlefield, marching forward to his future goals. Kang Guo returns to the city of Tetjon, which is bustling with life and no longer resembles a place where ordinary human life can exist. His return is like a brief respite before new challenges and adventures. Invigorated by his recent adventures, Kang Guo goes to his friend, a master of rare artifact trading and appraisal, to sell his equipment. A smile breaks out on her face when she sees the treasures she has brought. Sitting at a table in a cozy corner of her workshop, she exclaims in amazement, "I didn't think you could find Bartoros's shoes so easily." Her delight at Kang Guo's find is boundless. "Thank you," she replies, handing him a well-deserved reward. Kang Guo, focused and a little embarrassed by her gratitude, tries to make sense of her innuendo. She gets to the point by making an unexpected remark. "There is a curse on these people." These words make Kang Guo tense up as he realizes that 50% of the people who attempted this task did not return alive. He feels the weight of responsibility and risk that accompanied him on this mission. Kang Guo's friend smiles and recognizes his success. "Thanks to your coolness and judgment, the success rate of your missions is much higher." She believes in his abilities and reliability as a hunter. Putting her hand on the table, she slides him a magazine, saying, "As promised, you get status access to a dungeon with mid-level bosses. Here's all the information you need." The journal contains information that could be the key to his next adventure. The journal describes in detail the location, the cargo pass at Cafe Station, where Kang Guo can find new challenges and adventures. One of the main bosses mentioned in the journal is a powerful rival who promises to be a real test for Kang Guo. This information sparks his interest and desire to face this challenge. With the magazine in hand, Kang Guo ponders the new information. His friend asks him if he is satisfied with what he has learned. She hopes that this information will help him in his future battles. Kang Guo smiles when he learns that this land contains 5 valuable skills that are essential for his future development. He feels that this place can be the key to new heights of his skill. I'm going there tomorrow afternoon, he says decisively to his girlfriend. No time to waste, he adds, showing his determination and confidence in his plan. By the way, would you like to buy an item? With a gesture of his hand, Kang Guo invites his girlfriend to look through the items he has acquired during his adventures and which are now in his inventory. The girl looks at the offered equipment with surprise, impressed by the quality and value of these things. I'm willing to pay a lot for them, she replies, recognizing the value and usefulness of the items in Kang Guo's inventory. Our tireless hunter Kang Guo realizes that time does not stand still and prepares for a new challenge. His girlfriend gives him a journal with details of the next task, inviting him to new adventures. While studying the journal, Kang Guo recognizes the person he is supposed to detect and neutralize in the task description. Is this the same guy? He asks, looking at the task from the promised security agency, which requires special attention and skills. The agency asks for a united effort to stop a criminal who is engaged in theft and crimes against the state, as well as causing bodily harm. The information in the journal contains a detailed description of his criminal activities, how he acts and looks. The reward for completing the task is 300 million won and exclusive 1-month access to dungeons below level 100. Kang-Go's friend is concerned about the lack of information about the target of their mission. We don't have a single clue, she says, asking him if he's confident in his ability to complete the task. She shares the criminal's last known location near Yangheng Station, where he was last seen, after which all traces of him disappear. Kang-Go answers with his usual confidence. Everything will be fine, I have a plan. He reassures her, showing his willingness to use his unique methods to track down the target. Kang Guo arrives in the City of Entertainment, a huge and colorful metropolis where everyone can find something to do. In this place, where life is in full swing day and night, our hero hopes to find his villain. Thanks to the sale of unnecessary items, he successfully earned 250 million won, which is an additional bonus to his search. Realizing that he now has the means to realize his plans, Kang-Go decides to invest some of the money he earned in his own needs. He pulls out his phone and dials a number. A voice is heard on the other end of the line. Hello, who's there? A question is voiced addressed to our hero who is ready to start a conversation. I'd like to order 10 batches of shalaks and request that they be delivered to Yangsan Station, Kang Guo confidently asks, referring to certain goods he may need in his future adventures. The bearded man who took the order answers, Order accepted. Your shalaks will be delivered to Yangsan Station. He looks pleased with the new order, realizing the importance of a customer like Kang Guo. As he approaches one of the city's nightclubs, Kang Guo feels that there is still some time before his underground adventures begin. He decides to use this time to his advantage. At the club, Kang Guo plans not only to relax with a few drinks, but also to gather useful information that could be useful during his future adventures. However, the atmosphere in the club suddenly changes due to a sudden fight between patrons. The fight erupts in front of Kang Guo when one man strikes another. Blood pours out of the wounded man's shoulder. The blow was serious. The scene looks dramatic, and it becomes clear that the conflict has deeper roots. The man who was defeated in the fight falls to the floor, losing consciousness, perhaps even his life. Around the victor, a flock of spectators with bulging eyes rejoice in his victory, as this is just another nighttime street battle. Kang Guo, keeping out of the fray, stands behind the bar and enjoys his drink. He hears calls from the crowd to place bets and kill them. This is a typical picture of the nightly competitions in this city. After handing the money to the waitress, Kang Guo orders a solakium, a drink that seems to have special properties. This demonstrates his confidence and knowledge of local customs. The bartender, surprised by the unexpected order, fulfills it with some curiosity. Benny the bartender, having heard about Solacium, is surprised to hear about it, not realizing at first what Kang Guo wants. The bartender, surprised by Solacium's order, comments on its unique flavor. Impressed, she takes the money from Kang Guo, noting, I didn't think anyone would order it. It has such a unique flavor. Kang Guo smiles back. Exactly my taste. The girl asks him to wait with a sly look in her eyes, promising to return in a moment. As Kang Guo watches her leave, he realizes that bartenders in such establishments often have valuable information. Kang Guo turns around, wondering about the reliability of the information that can be obtained in such a place. He knows that he should be careful with the rumors and facts that are heard in bars. Something is subtly bothering Kang-go, making him feel uncomfortable or uneasy, despite the apparent calmness of the situation. His eyes accidentally touch the hair of one of the bar patrons who reminds him of an old acquaintance. Why? He thinks, trying to understand the reason for his sudden excitement. Kang-go notices one of his old friends among the club's visitors. She stands out by her appearance, sitting under a neon sign in a provocative outfit that makes him wonder why she is there. The girl is one of the subordinates of the executive director Ellipse Kandon, known as the Huntress Chaso-hee. Her presence in the club may have some ulterior motives. Kang-go is worried, wondering if she might be following him. His thoughts are interrupted by the bartender who serves him the cocktail he ordered, complimenting him on his appearance. "I've never seen such a handsome man here before." The bartender, with a hint of sadness in her voice, adds, "I wish we could meet again." This may indicate her own perception of the impermanence of life in a nightclub, or a premonition of future events. Kang-go, with skepticism in his voice, holds his cocktail and asks the bartender why they won't meet again. The bartender replies with a wan smile that she has heard some rumors that might explain her words. As she approaches Kang-go, she whispers that, according to her information, Ellipse is planning to take control of the club. She shares with him her guesses and the rumors in the air. The bartender tells him that Ellipse's goal is to capture the hunters who gather at the club and send them to work in the mines. She describes it as one of the typical human trafficking methods used in this dark world. Kang-go instinctively senses that there is trouble in the club. He stares thoughtfully into the space in front of him, trying to gather his thoughts and decide how best to proceed. This realization makes him realize why the atmosphere in the club is so tense. "So that's why everyone here is so focused," he muses. He realizes that even a brief moment of relaxation here is filled with tension and lurking dangers. "We have to hurry," Kang-go thinks, deciding to leave his seat at the bar. He is ready to act, about to take the next steps to uncover the secrets that this nightclub holds. But suddenly something catches the attention of both Kang-go and the bartender. They simultaneously look back at the source of their unexpected anxiety, ready to react to the new situation that suddenly confronts them. Kang-go, sensing a sharp deterioration in the situation, curses inwardly, feeling stressed by the unexpected turn of events. Sweat runs down his face, a sign of his anxiety and tension. A group of people appear in front of him, standing out with their aura. They seem intent on gathering all the hunters in the bar to turn them into their slaves, opening up a new dimension of threat. Holy shit, the Ellipse is really here, Kang-go realizes as the situation in the bar suddenly takes an explosive turn. The crowd in the bar shifts from being entertained to tense anticipation of conflict. The bar manager tries to figure out the motives of the uninvited guests, asking Ellipse why they came, looking for a way to resolve the situation without conflict. Time seems to slow down as Kang-go watches the events unfold with concentration, ready for any outcome. His unwavering gaze reflects determination and the recognition that there is nowhere to retreat. The aggressors from the Ellipse show no intention of explaining why they have come. Instead, they warn the people in the bar about the need to flee immediately. The situation is tense to the breaking point. Realizing that they view the bar's patrons as valuable commodities, the attackers erupt in violence, going on a rampage, destroying the bar's interior and attacking anyone who catches their eye. Amidst the chaos they unleashed, the attackers grab the bar manager, demonstrating their brutality not only with words but also with actions. One of Ellipse's soldiers brutally ends the manager's life by stabbing him through the arm, a terrifying sign of his power and ruthlessness. Ellipse's soldiers continue their destruction of the bar, sparing no one in their path. They violently break furniture and attack patrons, increasing the atmosphere of chaos and fear. One of the soldiers notices Kang-go standing aside, calmly watching the scene unfold. The attacker addresses him with the words, "Why are you standing there?" The same soldier shouts at Kang-go, asking, "What are you asking for it?" and raises an axe above him, preparing to chop our hero. At the moment when the soldier swings the axe, Kang-go uses a teleporter and moves behind the attacker's back. The use of this technique demonstrates his agility and ability to avoid direct conflict. The soldier, confused by Kang-go's sudden movement, realizes that he is at a disadvantage. Nevertheless, he does not intend to give in, realizing that compassion has no place in this fight. The blood of one of Ellipse's soldiers is spilled by our hero's precise and decisive blow. This moment emphasizes Kang Guo's determination to confront threats. Kang Guo successfully dealt with the two attackers, proving his superiority in battle. However, other soldiers appear behind them, ready to continue the attack. All the while, Kang Guo's friend is watching closely. Her gaze lingers on the hero, and the question arises about her role and intentions in this situation. The admiring girl, having noticed Kang Guo, a hunter with considerable strength in the bar, cannot take her eyes off him, full of interest and, perhaps, admiration. With incredible ease, she jumps up and rushes toward Kang Guo, her actions full of determination and purpose. The club is in chaos. There is destruction and fighting all around, but Kang Guo stands firm, repelling the attacks. At this critical moment, the huntress fearlessly rushes into the fray, trying to reach the hero. Kang Guo notices the girl approaching. He finds himself in confusion, trying to understand her intentions and determine his next steps. The huntress, with a cold and calculating look, carefully examines Kang Guo, as if analyzing him as a potential threat or ally. After a brief analysis, she focuses on him and decisively rushes forward, reducing the distance between them with each step. Easily removing the knife from the sheath on her leg, she holds it firmly in her hand, ready to attack. In a flash, she throws the knife toward Kang Guo with impressive speed, showing her fighting skills and intent to strike. Kang Guo is shocked by this unexpected development. He instinctively feels that the knife thrown is headed straight for his head. The knife thrown by the huntress unexpectedly finds its target in the chest of one of the armed attackers who intended to attack Kang Guo. A well-aimed stab immediately incapacitates him, and the knife thrown hits him right in the heart. The huntress, with unrelenting determination, runs up to the wounded attacker who has appeared in the bar to wreak havoc and destruction. Vulnerable and confused, he can only watch the events unfold, not understanding the girl's motives. With cold-blooded precision, the huntress pulls her knife from the attacker's chest, whose scream of pain echoes through the bar, adding to the intensity of the moment. The wounded attacker, overwhelmed with pain and despair, wonders why this encounter happened. Why? Why did it happen this way? Why were we met like this? His thoughts reflect confusion and lack of answers. The huntress easily kicks one of the attackers, sending him straight into the wall. The blow is so strong that the intruder flies off and crashes hard into the bar wall. With the confidence of a master of her craft, she intuitively senses another enemy approaching from behind. Her skills and readiness for combat leave no chance for the attackers. Kang Guo, observing her actions, remains in place, pondering her intentions and skill in combat. His interest in her personality grows. After a brief confrontation, the huntress turns to Kang Guo with a smile, noting that this is the first time she has seen him, but he seems familiar. She asks what guild he belongs to, trying to find out more about him. When she puts her hand on his shoulder as a sign of solidarity or friendship, Kang Guo pushes her away, saying that he doesn't like his hands tied, demonstrating his independence and caution in relationships. The huntress agrees with Kang Guo that talking about business can be useful, even in such a tense situation, demonstrating her openness to cooperation and discussing common interests. Suddenly, they are surrounded by a group of cold-blooded assassins, intent on harming and capturing the heroes. This presents Kang Guo and the huntress with a new challenge that requires immediate resolution. The enemies, bewildered by the unexpectedly daring resistance, ask themselves what to do next. Their surprise and confusion at how their plan was discovered and thwarted makes them consider a change of strategy. The huntress, meeting the eyes of her enemies, radiates cold confidence. She utters a phrase that causes the attackers to feel deep fear, showing her unwavering courage and readiness for confrontation. The huntress calls out to her enemies, "Attack!" Her confidence and determination stump them. The warriors, bewildered by her boldness, are momentarily in a state of shock. One of them stands with his mouth open in surprise, unable to figure out how to react. Outraged by her words, they rush to the attack, shouting that they must be apprehended at all costs. Kang Guo, realizing that he and the huntress will face serious resistance, prepares for a difficult confrontation. The huntress rushes into the battle, ready to help, but Kang Guo recognizes her actions as a test of his strength and skill. He decides that he cannot give in to her. She effectively attacks the enemies, and Kang Guo, for his part, skillfully maneuvers his sword, throwing it into the crowd of enemies. His precise strike hits one of the attackers, causing damage to their ranks. Kang Guo's sword pierces through one of the attackers, shocking the rest of his comrades in arms. Such a decisive and effective maneuver demonstrates his skill and courage. The enemies surround Kang Guo and the huntress, preparing for a decisive attack. One of the leaders of the attackers gives the order to attack Kang Guo, believing him to be defenseless without a sword. However, Kang Guo raises his hand up and clenches it, accumulating energy. The energy sword materializes again, bursting out of the attacker's body and flying straight to Kang Guo's hand, demonstrating his ability to control the weapon from a distance. After receiving the sword back, Kang Guo instantly uses it to cut off the attack of one of the attackers, chopping off his limb. This moment emphasizes not only his fighting skills, but also his agility and determination in the fight. After successfully cutting off one of the attacker's arms, Kang Guo does not hesitate to rush to the next enemy, demonstrating his combat determination and efficiency. The huntress, watching his actions, realizes that Kang Guo has a strength that exceeds her expectations. She is amazed at his skill. The huntress's gaze is filled with anxiety as she assesses his abilities, but Kang Guo answers her coolly, radiating confidence. With his sword still covered in the blood of the defeated soldiers, Kang Guo decisively declares his intention to head for the emergency exit, demonstrating his readiness to proceed. The crowd gathered around them watches them, falling silent in anticipation of their actions. Kang Guo begins to move towards the emergency exit, and the huntress, realizing the seriousness of the moment, realizes that he can be trusted and follows him without hesitation. Sensing that Kang Guo is trying to escape, the soldiers take measures to stop him by any means necessary, using tactics of luring and obstructing his path. Kang Guo and the huntress make their way to the emergency exit, trying to escape from the guards and soldiers who are chasing them, intent on harming them. We have to handle the rest. He thinks about the next steps. As they run for the emergency exit, the huntress asks Kang Guo if he can use his magical powers to defend himself or escape. Kang Guo, feeling strong and ready for action, sees his gauntlet glowing with stored energy ready to be used. He realizes that his gauntlet would be perfect for interacting with the dagger, thinking of new ways to use it in battle. Kang Guo kicks the emergency exit door with all his might, but Ellipse's soldiers are already waiting for him, ready to attack. His exit does not go unnoticed. Meanwhile, the club is in continuous chaos. The soldiers destroy everything in their path, wreaking havoc and destruction. The soldiers' cruelty knows no bounds. They kill those who could not escape or hide, and send the survivors to camps with contempt, mocking their fate. Despite their attempts at a quick capture, Ellipse's soldiers were unable to deal with Kang Guo, who continues to resist. His desire to escape from this mess and save his life pushes him to desperate actions. Ellipse's soldiers, armed to the teeth, are moving in on Kang Guo. He is faced with a choice: to continue the fight or to find a way to escape using all his abilities and skills. One of Ellipse's soldiers tries to deal Kang Guo a fatal blow but misses. The moment of tension increases, but Kang Guo remains invulnerable. In response to the attack, Kang Guo uses his bright green sword to deal a fatal blow to the soldier's neck. The effective and accurate stroke demonstrates his skills and quick reaction time. To finally finish off the enemy, Kang Guo delivers a powerful elbow to the enemy's back, emphasizing his determination and courage in battle. As he continues his journey, Kang Guo learns about the Apostle constellation from the system, which provides him with the latest information and guidance. The constellation of the Apostle of Justice is impressed with his actions to punish hypocrisy and evil. It grants Kang Guo a blessing, increasing his experience and strength. Kang Guo feels grateful to the system for its support and blessing, which allows him to continue his journey with even more confidence in the justice of his struggle. Full of confidence, Kang Guo breaks through the enemy ranks with unbreakable determination, facing a soldier who attacks him with 2 flaming swords. This challenge only amuses our hero. Maneuvering with ease like a hunter's dagger, Kang Guo delivers a decisive blow to the soldier's head, demonstrating his superiority in battle. Kang Guo's gaze turns to the huntress, exchanging clear signals with her about further actions. Kang Guo realizes that the situation is getting more complicated, but the huntress is ready to help, supporting him at this crucial moment. Combining their forces, Kang Guo and the huntress tirelessly fight their way through the enemies, easily defeating everything in their path. During the battle, Kang Guo feels deeply grateful to fate for the help and support she has received, especially at such a critical moment. The other guards are frozen in shock as they watch Kang Guo and the huntress destroy their comrades in arms with skill and courage. The enemy's unsuccessful swing of the axe at Kang Guo, who easily avoids the attack, demonstrates his high level of combat readiness and reaction. The axe crashes into the wall, getting stuck deep in it, and becomes an unexpected support for Kang Guo's actions. Using the axe as a pushing point, Kang Guo leaps forward, turning the situation to his advantage. This maneuverability gives Kang Guo additional momentum, allowing him to move with extraordinary speed and grace. Controlled with great precision, Kang Guo's sword strikes at his opponents like lightning striking its targets. With a short leap, Kang Guo skillfully eliminates 3 soldiers of the Legion, while at the same time enlisting the support of the Apostle of Justice constellation, which increases his strength. With his attack complete, Kang Guo leaps up the stairs and prepares for the next challenge ahead. The huntress watches as Kang Guo confidently pushes his way through the enemies, leaving her no chance to take the initiative. She follows him up the stairs, pulling her knife out of the head of one of Ellipse's soldiers. The huntress looks around at the chaos Kang Guo has created and the fallen soldiers. She realizes that Kang Guo is no ordinary opponent and feels a certain confidence in his abilities. With confidence, Kang Guo opens the way to freedom, striving to get out of this chaos. The huntress looks into Kang Guo's eyes, realizing that she was not mistaken in her choice of ally. She is impressed by his determination and strength. They go outside where the starlit night awaits them, creating a moment of calm after the tumultuous events. Seeking shelter from their pursuers, they hide, holding their breath, hoping that Ellipse's soldiers will not find them. The Ellipse soldiers are embarrassed and frustrated that they have not been able to apprehend Kang Guo and the huntress, enemies who are capable of wreaking havoc. Realizing the importance of their destruction, they feel disappointed at losing the trail. Kang Guo and the huntress hide behind a wall, barely having time to rest after their tense escape, gathering their strength and thoughts. The huntress approaches Kang Guo with a proposal to join forces without any obligations, emphasizing the importance of free choice and action. She offers him a business card, hinting at a generous payment for the upcoming task with her warm eyes, hoping for his interest and cooperation. Kang Guo, smiling, accepts the business card, impressed by her offer and openness to future cooperation, recognizing the possibility of a mutually beneficial partnership. After Kang Guo leaves, the huntress crosses her legs elegantly, preparing for her next action. Her calm and confidence contrast with the tense atmosphere of the previous day. She answers the call from her superior, addressing him with respect. "Yes, master." Her voice sounds calm and confident, as if foreshadowing the course of the conversation. The huntress informs her superiors that the task in the city has been completed, and there is nothing more for their Ellipse team to do here. Her words radiate the cohesion and efficiency of the work done. The boss's voice sounds demanding. He wants to know the details of the investigation and the name of the boy who escaped. However, the huntress remains calm, assuring him that everything is under her control, and they will have this information. Kang Guo walks confidently through the streets, filled with a sense of self-reliance and independence. His attitude shows his readiness to face any challenges and obstacles that come his way. The girl hunter concludes her report to her superiors by emphasizing that despite some difficulties, she has managed to cope with the challenges. Her tone of voice is one of professionalism and confidence. She also emphasizes the potential benefits of these events, assuring that the investigation will do more good than harm. The supervisor, interested in the results, asks for a name only, the key to further action. In response to the chief's question about the name, the girl mentions Xiankahu, outlining the next step in their plan. The scene switches to the Xiankahu train station, a place where trains are destined and passengers are waiting, providing a change of scenery and setting for the events that follow. Kang Guo gets off the train and walks confidently through the station, demonstrating his determination and readiness for new challenges. Looking around, Kang Guo quickly realizes that his order hasn't arrived yet, based on the lack of the expected reaction from Chosaha, indicating an unforeseen circumstance in his plans. Kang Guo ponders the situation with Ellipse's influence on Taijun and decides that it's not safe for him to go there. realizing that he's facing serious charges after the bar incident. He learns that Ellipse is suspected of overseeing the trains running to Kapeong, which increases the risk to Congo during the trip. Reflecting on his actions, Congo decides that it is better to take the safer route through Yensan Station, avoiding direct routes that may be under Ellipse's control. Opening the mailbox at the station, Congo finds the expected package, which is a testament to his good planning and caution. With the package in hand, he is pleased that the delivery went off without a hitch, demonstrating his ability to think strategically and prepare. Thinking back to his past experiences receiving Salakium at Shangkenghu Station, Congo is happy with his choice and foresight in getting the right item safely. As Congo walks through the crowd, he overhears a man talking about a part-time job opportunity. Curiosity makes him stop and listen. The man is on the phone discussing the terms of the job. Just support, right? It's rare to find a good part-time job in Seoul nowadays. This makes Congo even more interested. The other man shouts back, "What? Why are you hesitating there?" The tone of the conversation makes Kangguo wary. On the other end of the line, a command is heard. Run to Yangsan Station, which irritates Congo a bit, making him think about the possible reasons for the rush. Congo appears in front of the image of a man with fire in his hands, who has superpowers. This image evokes mixed feelings in him. This figure stands majestically on a large billboard in Seoul. People gathered around it, fascinated by the spectacle. Congo realizes that this may be part of something big and unknown. A homeless man with a broken sword appears on the streets of Seoul. Gripped by fear, he is contrasted with a man in a white suit who radiates nobility and has a mission of protection. A city where the monopoly on the dungeons is becoming the subject of a struggle between the Purification Guild and the Security Unification Agency. In a unique place under the control of the Security Unification Agency, order and respect are maintained, perfectly managing the huge dungeon market. Kangguo carefully examines the goods in the store, surprised by the astronomical prices of the items. The size of the market and the variety of goods exceed his expectations. After choosing one of the daggers, Kangguo is notified by the system about its characteristics. A level 5 knife with strength plus 50, the bliss of a heavenly warrior. This indicates the high quality and power of the weapon. Kangguo realizes the need to get rid of the training sword, feeling an urgent need for a real weapon. He decides to test his strength by summoning an earth stone into his left hand. Squeezing the stone with all his might, Kangguo focuses his will and physical strength. The stone cannot withstand his force and breaks into small pieces, leaving only dirt in his hand. Watching the consequences of his action, Kangguo feels the true embodiment of power and realizes that he is ready for new challenges. The system sends a message from the bliss of heaven. Participating in a battle increases the rate of stamina accumulation. Kangguo analyzes this message, realizing that unlike other hunters, he needs to actively manage his mana and physical strength to maintain his advantage. Having made the decision to buy that alluring knife, Kangguo walks out of the store with confidence, holding the new weapon in his hands. He feels his confidence grow with each step. His steps lead him through the busy streets of Seoul. Congo stares at the dagger, feeling its weight and the power that lies within the object. Suddenly, his attention is drawn to an exclamation of admiration from a little boy who watches him with big eyes, exclaiming, "Wow, how cool." The boy is accompanied by his family, who seem to be traveling around the city. The boy turns to his mother with hope. "Mom, can you eat chicken at night now?" This family idyll provides a contrast to Kangguo's world of combat, reminding him of ordinary life and simple pleasures. Kangguo watches this peaceful scene of family happiness, but his warrior instincts are not letting him rest. He realizes that there is a deeper meaning behind the surface of ordinary life, and that reality is often much more complicated. Turning away from his family, Kangguo reflects on the self-deception of people who refuse to see the coming chaos that may befall their city. He realizes that the peace they live in is fragile, and that his mission is to protect it from the impending evil. Suddenly, the situation changes. The family is attacked by an unknown enemy, causing confusion and fear among the civilians. Kangguo instantly changes his position, preparing to defend those who cannot defend themselves. The attacker strikes the boy's father in the face, who falls to the ground, begging for his son's return. But the masked bandits grab the boy, mocking the father's powerlessness. One of the criminals, holding the crying child in his arms, cynically shouts out, urging the father to be more sincere in his requests, showing an okay sign. The people around him are stunned by what they see. They call for help, shouting in desperation for someone to call the public security agency. But fear paralyzes their actions. Kang Guo, watching the situation, cannot remain indifferent. He holds his sword ready to intervene. He thinks about what kind of idiots would do such a thing in broad daylight in Seoul, and about the imminent arrival of the public security agency. Suddenly, a man bursts out of the crowd and addresses the audience, saying that he doesn't belong to any guild, addressing Kang Guo directly. Kang Guo fixes his gaze on the man, struck by his radiating power, which is readable even in the air around him. The bandits who wanted to kidnap the child suddenly froze, surprised by the appearance of a stranger ready to intervene in their atrocities. When Kang Guo recognizes the stranger, he realizes that he is Huang Hyun of the Purification Guild, known for his remarkable skill in warfare and strategy. Huang Hyun is not just a warrior, but also the bearer of the sinister martial arts star, the owner of a unique skill in fencing that allows him to skillfully navigate any situation. Kang Guo could not have imagined that he would meet his fellow swordsman Huang Hyun here, making the moment even more tense and unpredictable. Surprised by Huang Hyun's unexpected appearance, Kang Guo wonders why he is here, in this place, at this critical moment. Huang Hyun skillfully throws a credit card in the direction of the bandits, as if it were part of his cunning plan. One of the bandits catches the credit card out of the air, puzzled by the unexpected gesture. The gangster looks around, trying to figure out how the credit card is connected to their conflict and what it means. Huang Hyun coolly explains that it is a credit card with no limit, which they can use at their own discretion. The only condition is that they let the boy go. Lured by the promise of unlimited funds, the gangster lets the boy go, demanding that he not make any sudden movements. Huang Hyun throws the boy in the direction of his father, making it clear that any attempts to escape will be punished. They quickly head for the street, trying to leave the crime scene as quickly as possible. Huang Hyun, like a master of the dark arts, concentrates powerful dark energy around him, preparing to attack. In an instant, disappearing from view, he instantly moves in front of the bandits, blocking their escape route. Kang Guo watches the situation from afar, realizing that Huang Hyun won't let the criminals get away that easily. Huang Hyun demonstrates his unique mastery of space by positioning himself directly in front of the bandits trying to escape. With unshakable confidence, he releases jets of dark energy from his hands that quickly fill the space around him. The dark energy, like a living organism, envelops the bandits who are trapped and do not understand how to get out. One of the bandits, desperately trying to touch the dark energy, instantly realizes that the exit is closed. He and his friend find themselves trapped in a place created by Huang Hyun, and now they have no way to escape. Huang Hyun bursts into the crowd of bandits like lightning, surrounded by demonic energy that sparkles around his sword. With unheard-of skill, he cuts the attackers to pieces with one deft swipe of his weapon, leaving them no chance of survival. The bandits, filled with horror and incomprehension, did not even have time to understand how Huang Hyun could have performed such a quick and deadly blow. The eyewitnesses, shocked by Huang Hyun's action, are at the same time relieved because the bandits who were punished really deserve to be severely retaliated against. Kang Guo realizes that this powerful hunter is the same person he saw earlier at the station and is impressed by his strength and determination. An innocent passerby whom Kang Guo met earlier at the post office now lies dead, a victim of the guild, further emphasizing the planned situation. One of the surviving criminals, terrified of his inevitable death, begs for mercy, realizing the full extent of his guilt and cowardice in the face of a just punisher. The criminal, trying to save his life with his last strength, says that the whole incident was just a staging organized by himself, but his plans went awry due to Huang Hyun's unexpected cruelty. The townspeople gathered around as if chained to the spot, watching the scene, unable to intervene or even hear the criminal's words clearly due to the mystical sound suppression created by Huang. Realizing the hopelessness of his situation and the inevitability of punishment, the criminal loses his last hopes for pardon when he sees the unwavering determination in Huang Hyun's eyes. With the last shreds of desperation and hope for self-defense, the criminal draws his sword and rushes to attack Huang, ready to fight for his life at any cost, despite the obvious superiority of his opponent. Huang Hyun ends the criminal's life with cold determination, acting as a relentless executor of justice in front of the assembled crowd, who watch the scene with fear and amazement. After the crisis is resolved, Huang reveals that the entire incident was a staged event created to build public confidence in the Purification Guild, which acts as a protector of civilians. Huang walks through the gathered crowd and confidently declares that everyone can now feel safe under the protection of the guild. The people, reassured by his words, burst into applause, greeting him as a hero who saved them from an invisible threat. Kango watches the scene with sadness and irony. As expected from this show, he thinks of Huang Hyun's actions. He wonders about Huang's motives, who is trying to gain the people's gratitude and trust through this performance, increasing the influence of his Purification Guild. Kango wonders if this is all done to strengthen the guild's monopoly on the hunter market. Standing behind Huang, Kango confidently thinks about the future, when he can use this situation to his advantage. Enjoy the moment while you can, but soon I will take over your abilities, Kango thinks, planning his next steps. The man with the tablets approaches the woman in the office, apologizing for the inconvenience. "I'm sorry you had to come here in person," he says. "This is all the information we could gather about the fugitive you asked about," he tells his boss, handing her the documents. The woman opens her tablet and begins to study the information she has been brought. She angrily clutches the papers as she reflects on the information she has received about the fugitive, which shows her strong emotions about the issue. Sometime after this meeting, Kango heads to one of the dungeons guarded by soldiers preparing for a new challenge. Kango approaches the dungeon guard, who politely asks him his name. "My name is Kango," he replies, and they are satisfied with that answer. The woman in the office carefully reviews all the information available to her about Kango, analyzing every piece of data. She realizes that she knows this man, and she realizes that he is the same guy she helped before. This realization makes her think about what to do next. The dungeon guard is happy to see Kango, but at the same time, he is uncertain about how to deal with him. Kango turns to the dungeon guard. "I think it's time I can enter now," he says, feeling strong and ready for the challenges ahead. The dungeon guards explain to Kango that the preparations for the expedition are not yet complete, exchanging glances with each other. "You said you were level 20? One of them asks, giving him a wink that hints at surprise or doubt in his abilities. A shadow falls over the face of one of the guards as he brings his eyes closer in concentration, almost whispering, "Since you have turned 20, you have been selected for the recommended dungeon tour." Kango meets their gaze with a subtle indifference, like ice binding his eyes. Kango knows that in order to steal the skills, he needs to enter this mystical dungeon and level up. This is the only way to defeat the dark force that has taken over the streets of Seoul, an enemy hidden among the shadows of the city. With particular determination, touches the system panel that appears before him like a mirage. His choice, a minimum target level of 50, reflects the ambition burning in his heart. As he reflects on his decision, Kango realizes the enormity of the challenge. To accelerate growth, I'll have to make sacrifices, he thinks, confirming the system's request. A strong wind blows against Kango as he bravely walks through the desolate deserts that lead to the dungeons. His face is a mask of determination, carved in stone, despite the brutal circumstances. He closes his eyes, but not out of fear, from the sandstorm that envelops him. Visibility is 0, but not for me. While an ordinary traveler would have long since lost his way in these inhospitable lands, Kango moves with unwavering confidence. Opening his X-ray vision, he contemplates the warm traces of his footsteps in the sand. A moment of suspense catches Kango off guard when he realizes he is standing on the very edge of an abyss that opens up before him, like the mouth of an ancient monster. A coincidence? Hardly. This is a test of fate that tests his resolve. A fire of joy and relief flares up in Kango's heart, but also self-criticism for his recklessness. Only a step separated me from an eternal fall, he thinks, looking back at the abyss that could have been his last refuge. A rustle behind him interrupts his thoughts. Kango turns around, waiting for the unknown, his heart beating in half-expectation of conflict. In the harsh sandstorm, amidst the chaos, Kango catches a pair of bright, coal-like eyes silently watching him from the hidden depths of the sands. He finally sees them, red flowing monsters that blend effortlessly into their surroundings, waiting, ready to attack. Their gaze radiates an indescribable thirst for the hunt, and the open space in front of Kango suddenly becomes an arena between life and death. The tension rises as Kango encounters the lizard monsters, huge creatures with relentless sharp teeth and powerful tails, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Calculation shines in Kango's eyes. He realizes that defeating these monsters will not only pave the way for him to cross the abyss, but will also greatly increase his strength. This is my chance to reach my goal, he thinks, preparing for the fight. The battle begins with an explosion of energy, and Kango engages the lizards with unwavering determination. His every move is calculated and deadly, and the clash turns into a dance of death and survival. The scene changes. We see a girl in an office intently studying Kango's data on a monitor. It is explained to her that the team has not only been monitoring his progress, but has also created an entire simulation to track his actions. Her eyes move from the monitor to the staff member who informed her. With dissatisfaction and barely concealed impatience, she asks, "What conclusions can we draw?" Her interest is not just professional. The employee reports to the girl with concentrated seriousness. "According to our data, Kango launched a mana attack on one of our warriors, and incredibly, he not only survived, but was able to outmaneuver a level 100 hunter. This information challenges everything they knew about the possibilities at their level. This is absurd," her advisor almost whispers over the broadcast as she tries to comprehend the message. "But he actually attacked and won. How is that possible with a level 10? The question echoes in the air, emphasizing the anomaly in Kango's abilities. The girl, flipping through the pages on her tablet, comes across a mysterious spectrogram. Her fingers pause as she examines the data that could explain the incredible events. "Now I understand everything," she says with a look of epiphany on her face, ready to act. "I will let you know the next steps. To tell you the truth, I met him a few days ago," she confesses, causing her assistant to be surprised and shocked. In her office, the female boss sets fire to the dossier handed over by her assistant with cold calm. "This is unacceptable," she says with subtle irony, criticizing her team's failure to accurately determine Kango's level. "We underestimated him," she admits, looking at the devouring flames. The scene changes. Kango, full of determination, rushes into battle against the foot and mouth disease, which now seems to him no more than a pitiful opponent. In order to assess their strength, Kango strikes one of the foot and mouths. This moment becomes a test for both him and the monster. The blow hits the lizard right in the stomach, but surprisingly it does not die. At this moment, Kango realizes that it will take an infinitely long time to destroy each of them. He pulls the knife out of the monster's stomach using his glove, which seems to be endowed with special powers. With a skillful twist, Kango delivers a fatal blow, killing and wounding all the foot and mouths within the radius of his maneuver. A realization instantly clarifies Kango's thoughts as he notices two FMDs that, despite the carnage, remain uninjured. They are like shadows of death, waiting for their time. With unwavering courage, Kango thrusts his dagger straight into the heart of the danger. One swift movement, and the lizards fall down, wounded, their vitality instantly fading. On the sandy ground, like a painting on a war canvas, lie the bodies of the defeated lizards, each one a testament to Kango's unbreakable will to win. Kango, charged with the adrenaline of victory, ironically calls out to his enemies, "Come on, let's try again." He is not just a fighter, he is a master of provocation, manipulating the battle on his own terms. The lizards stand up restlessly, their eyes blazing bright red, hatred and anger coming to life in their gaze, and they slowly but surely begin to move towards Kango. Standing at the edge of the abyss, Kango realizes his situation. There is nowhere to escape, and the lizards are surrounding him from all sides, creating an impenetrable ring. At a critical moment, Kango activates his X-ray vision and notices a crucial detail. On an island amidst endless danger, the greatest threat is unexpected harm that can come from anywhere. In a moment of epiphany, Kango realizes that if he destroys the monster without his own contribution to the battle, the victory will not be considered his, and accordingly, he will not gain any experience. This rule of the world he is in now is cruel but fair. What if I inflicted at least minor wounds on each of them? Kango wonders, studying his enemies who radiate undisguised aggression. With concentrated energy, Kango jerked off the ground, rapidly developing a battle strategy. He is ready for action, for a new method of confrontation. He rushes forward with determined intent, knowing full well that his every move can change the course of the battle. The lizards, encouraged by possible prey, chase after him. Pursued by the lizards thirsty for his blood, Kango unfolds in a decisive maneuver. Everything is ready for a dramatic turn in the battle. At the climax, pushing with all his might, Kango makes a daring leap across the abyss, leaving his pursuers on the other side of the cliff. This act not only demonstrates his physical strength and resourcefulness. Despite the lack of developed intelligence of the foot-and-mouth disease, they jump after Kango with a vicious determination, but their fate is already sealed. At the critical moment, with unshakable confidence in his abilities, Kango activates his unique ability Leap, which allows him to easily jump over the chasm, leaving his pursuers behind. The lizards, unable to follow suit, do not have time to change the trajectory of their jump, and fall into the abyss one by one. Failing in their attempts to overcome the challenge, their fall occurs with frightening inevitability, and they crash to the bottom of the abyss, creating a terrifying picture of failure and despair. Each time a lizard crashes, the system sends Kango a notification of the monster's destruction, certifying his victory over each of the fallen enemies. The flow of notifications does not stop, giving Kango invaluable experience with each broken lizard. As a result, his level is rapidly increasing, reaching 27, which opens up new opportunities and horizons for him. Observing the consequences of his actions, Kango realizes that everything went exactly according to plan. His plan was a success, and this only fuels his self-confidence. We move on to a girl who returns to the prison from which Kango escaped. Her investigation leads her back to the origins of the story. She is intently studying the pictogram left by Kango before his escape, trying to unravel its meaning. A detailed analysis of the symbols tells her that the ritual was performed using blood. The mystery remains. For what purpose? Could he have summoned a creature from the starry sky? She wonders about Kango's possible motives, which gives her a new direction to think. She picks up the phone to answer a call from her mentor, who asks if she has completed her investigation. "I'm still in the process, and this fugitive is not the type to be easily brought to justice," she replies, recognizing the uniqueness and complexity of the task at hand. The mentor nods in agreement, saying that he thought so too, confirming the complexity of the situation. When the girl asks for another agent to help her, the mentor asks in surprise, "Why do we need another man?" which shows that the situation is taking on new and unknown dimensions. With an unwavering coldness in her voice, the girl confesses to her mentor that one of her assistants talked too much, and she solved the problem radically. She eliminated him for negligence and betrayal. The scene takes us to Kango, who continues his journey through the labyrinths of deserts and caves, constantly looking for new challenges. He ruthlessly destroys everyone who stands in his way, increasing his skills and mastery in battle with each defeated enemy. Kango holds a crystal that emits a mysterious light, as if reflecting his inner strength and potential. Kango recalls the moment when he first touched such a crystal, which radically changed his life, when he was still mining them in the depths of another dungeon. It now becomes clear that the girl named Sahi is connecting the dots, realizing that Kango is the very fugitive she learned so much about during her investigation. Feeling that the crystal is not having the desired effect, Kango decides to get rid of it. He throws the stone away, but his will to fight only grows stronger. His fist clenches tighter. Out of nowhere, like a shadow, a fiery monster approaches Kango, stepping out from behind him unnoticed. Its presence sends a wave of heat through the air. The monster embodies the power of fire, burning with bright flames as the embodiment of a huge fire god ready for destruction. "I was beginning to wonder if you would come," Kango says, meeting his opponent with unexpected readiness. He was ready for this meeting. "It's time for the first skill," Kango says confidently, preparing for the fight, sword ready in his hands. The atmosphere is filled with anticipation of a grand battle with the dungeon boss, a harbinger of a real test for Kango. At this critical moment, far beyond the battle, someone is watching. A masked guy in a light suit with a bow in his hand is watching the scene intently, ready to intervene or fulfill his mission at any moment. The victory came quickly, and now the fiery dungeon boss, a symbol of destruction and hellish power, lies unconscious. extinguished by Kango's intelligence and strength. His victory is not just a show of physical strength, but also a victory of the mind over the elements. Catching the moment of victory, Kango stealthily absorbs the fire boss's ability, the fire modifier. This skill, now his own, is capable of enhancing the fire properties of any weapon, depending on the stellar conditions, making it even more powerful. Filled with pride in his feat, Kango stands over his defeated enemy, a testament to his incredible strength and abilities. It's unbelievable that he was able to defeat a mid-level boss so quickly, the masked man thinks to himself, impressed by Kango's abilities. The masked man recalls his own experience with a fire boss, thinking about his own hunting skills, which, however, pale in comparison to Kango's strategy. In his confrontation with the boss, he used a sword, which the boss knocked away, but he instantly regained control of the weapon, reclaiming it. The fire boss, refusing to take this blow unanswered, prepared for a counterattack, but was not ready for Kango's next move. However, this was only a cunning plan by Kango, who used deception to provoke the boss into pursuit. In the end, Kango led the fiery boss to the oasis, which was his weak point, by carefully planning his moves. The boss, losing his caution, falls into the water of the oasis and goes out like a candle in the wind, securing Kango's victory. The masked observer concludes that Kango certainly has unique and unconventional skills for a player of his level, which sets him apart from the rest. As the masked hunter reflects on his mission, it is now clear that Sahi had a special purpose in sending him to watch Kango. She saw in him a potential that went beyond the ordinary. Sahi, having verified Kango's high level through testing, relied on the hunter not only to observe, but also to support him if necessary. Her instructions were clear: to help Kango if necessary, ensuring his safety and support. Sahi emphasized the importance of teamwork, pointing out that the hunter must act in unison with Kango, emphasizing the importance of synergy and mutual support in their joint actions. Watching Kango, the hunter realizes that his talent is impressive, and that with further development and improvement of his abilities, he can become even stronger. Kango can become even stronger. The hunter sees Kango not only as the target of his mission, but also as a potential ally or even a student. The hunter decides that Kango deserves his full attention as he watches him from the top of the hill. He realizes that he should stay in the shadows but is ready to act if necessary. In the battle, a dagger appears, aimed directly at the enemy, rushing at incredible speed. The protective barrier works flawlessly, preventing the dagger from penetrating its energy shield. The robots, equipped with advanced defense technology, form an energy barrier that effectively neutralizes any of Kango's attacks. Kango isn't going to give up so easily. He intellectually analyzes the situation, realizing that these defenders are a serious test of his abilities. Among the defenders is the mid-level boss, who impresses with his power and fighting skills, standing in front of Kango like an impenetrable warrior. The flanker is another mid-level boss, who, together with the others, makes up a significant combat potential on the battlefield. The front guard adds to the collective power by strengthening the defense and posing a serious challenge to anyone trying to break through. All the bosses reinforce each other, forming an impregnable defense that requires extraordinary efforts to defeat. This team of bosses acts in concert, defending themselves as a single organism, making them extremely dangerous opponents. Kango realizes that defeating them will require not only strength, but also cunning, and the reward for defeating them will be significant. At the decisive moment before the battle, the words of Lee Yorn, Kango's friend, sound in his head like a message. They are words of support and faith in his strength. Before leaving for the mission, Kango promises Lee Yorn to contact her as soon as he has dealt with the challenge of Hong Ti, showing his determination and dedication. But Lee Young asks him to wait. She wants to give him one last thought that might change his mind. She tells him about potential clients who could offer him cooperation. It's not going to be easy to clear the whole dungeon alone, she says, trying to convince Kango of the importance of teamwork. Kango, however, is confident in his abilities and does not want to depend on others. He feels that he can achieve the goal on his own. He rejects Lee Yorn's offer, saying that he is a lone wolf in this world, and that everything he achieves will be through his own efforts. As soon as the words leave his mouth, he jumps into action, activating his cauterize ability to instantly move and attack the robot bosses hiding behind his energy barrier. Kango, focused and calculated, looks for a weakness in the robot's defense. And when he finds it, he decisively breaks into their territory from the flank. Despite his efforts, his dagger fails to penetrate the protective barrier, but Kango doesn't give up, ready for his next attempt. He jumps back without wasting a second, continuing to maneuver, looking for an opportunity to surprise the enemy. Suddenly activating the teleporter, Kango moves to the opposite side of the barrier, creating a surprise effect for his opponents. The defenders feel the darkness begin to envelop them and the environment, threatening to change the course of the battle. The darkness absorbs the barrier, and Kango unleashes a new ability, control over space, which increases his advantage in battle. The darkness not only obscures the barrier, but also wreaks havoc among the defenders, making them lose their bearings and become vulnerable. In the ensuing chaos, Kango activates the short-range cauterizer, strengthening his position and trying to take full control of the situation. Assessing his advantageous position, Kango decides to act immediately. He jerked off the ground, preparing for a decisive move. As he launches his attack, Kango materializes his arm in space, allowing him to penetrate the protective barriers and approach the three bosses. This demonstrates his ability to manipulate space at the maximum distance of his abilities. By killing the first of the bosses who could not withstand the power of his attack, Kango shows his strength and confidence in his own actions. He instantly seizes the initiative by taking advantage of the moment of surprise, pulling the boss out of his protective barrier and maneuvering to deliver the decisive blow. As he approaches the boss, who cannot guess his intentions due to the surprise of the attack, Kango prepares to use the element of surprise to his advantage. He slips through his opponent using a clever rolling maneuver that shows his high level of combat skill and flexibility. Thanks to his dexterity, Kango successfully penetrates the barrier to the kidnapped boss using a unique technique that allows him to effectively manipulate space and time to achieve his goal. Ango, a master of his craft, demonstrates an unparalleled command of combat skills while asking himself the rhetorical question of why he fights alone. As he considers working with others, Kango realizes that this would require a certain level of trust and interaction that could change his strategy and approach to combat. Using teleportation, he abruptly changes positions, attacking the boss from different sides with his sword, demonstrating his tactical flexibility and unpredictability. After breaking through the barrier, Kango approaches the boss, preparing to deliver a decisive blow. Having activated the short-range jump, he breaks through the barrier, dealing a fatal blow to one of the bosses. The sword pierces the boss, and Kango, with a smile on his face, feels almost guaranteed victory. The boss's blood, like an electronic code, scatters all over the space, indicating his defeat and loss of physical form. The boss's blood, like an electronic code, scatters all over the space, indicating his defeat and loss of physical form. Pushed back by the force of Kango's punch and with a large wound, the boss cannot believe that his seemingly impregnable barrier has been broken. The fragments of the destructive force and the broken barrier fly into the air, mixing with the sand around Kango, creating an almost apocalyptic picture. The dungeon system marks the elimination of the mid-level boss, but his allies, the other bosses, are not going to give up so easily. The enraged boss prepares for a clash with Kango, issuing a challenge with his mighty scream. As he approaches Kango, the boss hopes to protect his barrier, but he doesn't take into account his Achilles heel, his exposed back flank. The boss strikes at Kango's illusion, who was waiting for him in the front, not realizing he was trapped. Using his intelligence and speed, Kango misleads the bosses by instantly teleporting behind their backs. Realizing the deception, the boss tries to use a daring takedown against Kango, hoping to finally catch the cunning warrior. But Kango, always one step ahead, once again outsmarts his powerful opponent, demonstrating his superiority not only in strength but also in cunning and strategic thinking. With indescribable skill, he maneuvers his sword over his boss, finding a weakness in his defense. He approaches from the side, where the enemy's defense is the least stable. Activating his superpower, Kango stabs the boss with all his might, demonstrating his superiority in combat. The boss looks around in surprise and shock, unable to understand how he failed to repel the attack. But it's too late for him, as Kango's sword completes its devastating effect, destroying the mid-level boss. The boss falls to the ground, his blood spilling out, marking the end of his reign. The dungeon system recognizes Kango's victory by announcing a new level. Now his level is 29. Kango, embodying the symbol of victory, stands with his foot on the defeated boss, celebrating his undeniable victory. The system is enhanced with a unique defense ability. This barrier will not only protect Kango, but will also have a long duration, significantly increasing his chances of survival. Transmits information about the newly acquired protective barrier. This information warms our hero's heart, but this is nothing ordinary for him. The hunter watches Kango, reflecting on his last victory over 3 bosses. He realizes that Kango did it without any help, which confirms his unique fighting abilities. In the hunter's mind, he recognizes that Kango has even exceeded his expectations, demonstrating an impressive level of skill. The hunter thinks that Kango may not really need the support of the team, but he decides that it is too early to draw any conclusions. The hunter, standing on a cliff, continues to watch Kango, anticipating that the next battle with the main boss will reveal all the cards. The main boss is preparing to meet Kango in an atmosphere of thick darkness and red sky, and radiating demonic energy. The hunter is not going to retreat, watching the developments with concentration, ready to intervene at a critical moment. With each passing moment, the intrigue around Kango and his fearless advance towards the battle grows, and the hunter realizes that watching Kango is becoming more and more exciting. The atmosphere around him is heating up, with lightning slicing through the sky, adding to the drama of the moment when Kango finally comes face to face with the big boss. "So, we finally meet," Kango says calmly as he approaches the final battle. The main boss, greeting him with a laugh, opens his huge mouth dripping with saliva, and his hair is scattered around his head like a crown of madness. His appearance and behavior demonstrate that he is the ruler of this dark corner of the world, and his power is beyond question. Kango, not backing down from the threat, points directly at the boss and declares with unwavering determination, "You will be my target." The pressure and tension of the moment are felt in every word, every gesture. The tin boss, towering above, enveloped in a red sky, radiates a demonic energy that emphasizes his majesty and power. He is ready for a decisive battle, the light of his power illuminating the darkness of the dungeon. With a challenge in his voice, the boss challenges Kango, darting from side to side in the sky, preparing to meet the warrior with anger felt in his every move. The boss begins his attack by firing dark purple energy balls toward Kango, each with incredible destructive power. By setting off dark gray fireworks, the boss creates a rain of energy strikes aimed at stopping Kango. But he, with his characteristic ingenuity and speed, uses the short-range jump to dodge them. The boss, although shocked by Kango's strength and speed, keeps his fighting spirit and is not going to give up so easily. Purple energy begins to fill the space around him, signaling the boss's increasing magical power. The defense spell is activated, and the boss rises high above the ground, creating a barrier between himself and Kango. Windy arrows wrap around the boss, preparing him to attack Kango, who realizes that the chase will be a difficult task. Kango consumes a healing plant to regain his strength and prepare for the next stage of the battle. The wind arrows continue to protect the boss, but Kango notices that the enemy is sparing no effort to attack. The rogue boss casts his defense spell to block his attacks. Despite the magical defense, Kango manages to close the distance to the boss, preparing for a decisive attack. He is ready to take the damage from the wind arrows to find an opportunity to deliver the decisive blow. Expecting an inevitable series of deadly blows, Kango prepares to activate his bleeding skill, which can help him turn the tide of the battle by using every moment to his advantage. Realizing that the boss has his own unique blood flower skill, which could make things much more difficult, Kango prepares to countermeasures. With tension in the air, Kango follows the boss's every move with concentration, ready to respond to any move he makes, his dedication to victory leaving no doubt about his resolve. The situation escalates when the boss, with concentrated anger, prepares to use his deadly skill, requiring Kango to be as focused and ready to act as possible. At the decisive moment of the battle, Kango, using all his cunning and experience, prepares for the final attack that will decide the fate of this confrontation. With an explosion of energy and the will to win, Kango launches his final assault on the boss, revealing his true power and willingness to use every opportunity to win. The hunter, from a high vantage point, analyzes the dynamics of the confrontation between Kango and the boss. He notices that despite the long battle, neither of them has inflicted significant damage on the other, and the fight is reaching a new level of tactical maneuvers and search for weaknesses. The change in the battle attracts the attention of the hunter, who notices a key point. The clash has become more intense. Kango and the main boss show a special hatred for each other. Our hero's fire breaks out, a symbol of his determination to attack. He prepares to show the boss his calling card, the decisive move that will decide the fate of this epic battle. "There's no catching me now," Kango declares with confidence as he activates his super swooping ability, allowing him to zoom right up to the angry and vicious boss. The boss, full of energy, radiates a powerful aura, emphasizing his refusal to give up without a fight. His power threatens to explode, ready to unleash its heat on anyone who dares to confront him. Ango, skillfully using his teleportation ability, dodges the boss's fatal blow by moving behind him. "Shoot as much as you want," he tells the boss defiantly. The boss, angered by Kango's courage, tries to counterattack, taking his defiance as a personal challenge. The place where Kango was supposed to appear after teleportation is immediately enveloped in an explosion of powerful attacks from the boss, capable of destroying him in one blow. With a smile on his face, Kango confidently answers the boss, "Don't be so quick to rejoice." These are the words of a warrior who knows he has a trick up his sleeve. Kango activates his new protective barrier, which effectively deflects the deadly blow of the powerful boss. The defense demonstrates its impenetrability, forcing the boss to reassess his chances of winning. After a successful defense, Kango draws his sword, which is engulfed in flames, in preparation for the final attack. As he launches his sword, it catches fire in flight. With one mighty swipe of his fire sword, Kango pierces the boss through and through, causing him serious damage. The boss, overwhelmed by fear of his small opponent, is truly surprised and terrified. Kango, watching his wounded enemy, says coldly, "Burn." Under the influence of the sword's fiery power, the boss instantly bursts into flames like a match, culminating this epic encounter with a fiery finale. After the main boss burns to ashes, his ashes scatter through the air, leaving behind only a memory of his former power. Kango, holding his still warm sword, surveys the scene of destruction and says, "The fire attribute is really useful," recognizing the significance of his victory. The hunter who was watching the battle is deeply impressed by the unexpected outcome. He couldn't imagine that Kango would be able to defeat Alicia, the powerful dungeon boss, especially considering the fact that Kango's level was much lower than the enemy's. Realizing the importance of the event, the hunter decides to immediately retreat from the battlefield and report back to his leader, as Kango's ability is noteworthy. At this point, Kango, being near the remains of the main boss, gains the blood flower ability he desperately wanted. It was his main goal that he was striving for, and now it has been achieved. Kango, always cautious and observant, was aware from the beginning that he was being watched. When he notices that the hunter has retreated, he cannot help but feel satisfied that he has been able to keep him in the dark for so long. The dungeon system announces that Kango's level has risen to 32, and he gains the basic skill Acceleration Assassin, which greatly increases his combat capabilities and maneuverability. "The levels keep going up," Kango says with satisfaction as he consumes a healing flower to help him recover from the battle. While gaining a new skill, Kango also learns the ability of a basic constellation-related defensive attack that requires additional healing effects to give it some improvements. This skill not only enhances his own abilities, but also provides a small increase in experience, which comes as a pleasant surprise to Kango. "I didn't expect this kind of support," Kango notes ironically, evaluating the new opportunities that have opened up for him. As soon as Kango defeats the boss, another object falls out from under his feet. The surprise from the defeated enemy arouses interest. Kango notices that a book and a stone have fallen to the ground, and they materialize almost instantly in front of him. These objects seem to be waiting for him to pick them up. Kango looks at them intently and thinks, "This could be useful." His mind is already racing with ideas on how to use these new finds to his advantage. The scene changes to Seoul, where an investigator from the Ellipse organization is going about her business. She continues her work amidst the bustle of the city. Together with her mentee, she discusses a discovery, Kango's apartment in the city. This discovery could be the key to a new investigation or even an alliance. An investigator from Ellipse stands at the door of Kango's apartment, surrounded by her charges. She speaks to her superiors on the comms, decisively stating, "He's locked himself in, of course, but we've got this." And demonstrating her ability to perform fire magic, she promises to find any traces that might lead to Kango. A neighbor uses his tablet to communicate with a friend. He warns him that Ellipse agents have found his house and are trying to find clues that might indicate his presence. Entering the house, the investigator conducts a search of the apartment. After a thorough search, she reports to her boss that Kango has left them no trace of him, and he is not there. Her words emphasize their determination to find Kango, but also the cunning of Kango himself, who managed to avoid a direct encounter with them. The boss of the girl leading the search for Kango presents himself as a cool and confident leader. He smiles, holding a cigarette between his teeth, and says, "You know, I'm a little jealous of him." These words betray his intrigue and possible admiration for Kango's abilities and character, which allow him to always stay one step ahead of his pursuers. These words make the girl uneasy, and she can't understand what her boss meant by envy. It is difficult for her to understand his mood and intentions. Does he consider Kango a worthy rival, or does he see him as a potential ally? Her anxiety indicates the complexity of their relationship and the difficult nature of her boss. The girl, surprised and a little embarrassed, asks her boss why he is so interested in Kango. The boss's answer is laconic. "Discretion is the strength you lack, Sohee." These are words that emphasize the importance of strategic thinking and foresight. The boss's words make the girl turn pale, but he doesn't stop thinking about the future. He reveals his plan to make Kango his apprentice, believing that this will be a serious competition for her. At this point, the wards bring the girl the documents, and the boss asks her if she found anything useful during her investigation. "Of course, yes," the girl answers with humor, although her inner state is far from the lightness caused by her recent discoveries and conversation with the boss. Meanwhile, Kango's sister stands outside the house, hesitating to enter. She feels that something is wrong inside, making her cautious. She receives a phone call informing her that bounty hunters are inside, which increases her anxiety and pushes her to act. Leaving the apartment after the search, Sohee remarks, "At your service, master. I think we found a clue." These words indicate a possible breakthrough in their search. Leaving the dungeons, the protagonist reflects on his recent victory over the main boss. He realizes that his main goal, to steal the blood flower, has been achieved. At the same time, he recognizes the value of the other finds. The sale of the green magic stone turned out to be very profitable, bringing him 50 million won. In addition, he found a bleeding-enhancing ring and a skill book. Although the book is not suitable for his class, he knows a way to learn it, so he decides to keep it for the future. Leaving the dungeon, the hero's phone gets a connection. He takes the phone out of his pocket and continues on his way. On the screen, he sees the missed calls and reads the messages. "I called, but you didn't answer. Eclipse is investigating. I think they're looking for you," reads the message from an unknown person. Kango senses the growing confrontation with Sohee and decides that he needs to calm the situation down somehow, to avoid unnecessary conflicts and to settle the misunderstandings between them. Meanwhile, his sister, who was extremely worried during his time in the dungeons, informs him that Eclipse has invaded their home in search of Kango. This only heightens his concerns about the potential danger to his family. Kango considers contacting his friend, Seoyeon, an informant for the Purification Guild, who can help him gather information and find a way to deal with Eclipse. Kango realizes that if Eclipse has managed to get on his trail, they may soon start looking for Lee Yerin, which puts her in an extremely vulnerable position. Given that he is only new to Lee Yerin in the field, and that she has little reason to protect him after his refusal to join her cases, Kango realizes that there is a conflict between Eclipse and Blue Eye due to rivalry, so it is unlikely that either will cooperate or share information about him. Kango, fulfilling a carefully planned mission, sets off through a crowded street in search of Ho Jong-tai. His determination to find and bring this villain to justice is unwavering. In order to successfully complete the mission, Kang-go realizes that he needs to find a reliable partner. The plan involves a meeting with the man who may be the key to unraveling Ho Jong-tai's whereabouts. A man with a sword and red hair is watching a high-rise building located in the area where he assumes the target might be. Clutching his head, he concludes, "So this is the only way to catch Ho Jong-tai." He sounds tense and recognizes the difficulties he has to overcome. He recalls the words of one of his superiors who, while smoking a cigarette, tried to calm him down. "I understand that you are worried, because we are talking about a friend from your family. Don't worry." The leader, surrounded by his bodyguards, continued slowly. "The Yongpyong district is not even under our jurisdiction." These words hint at the difficulties and limitations that may arise in the search for Ho Jong-tai. As he approaches the house he considers the last on his search list, the man with the sword and red hair silently assesses it, making sure it is the right place to find Ho Jong-tai. He checks his navigator, where this house is marked as the last target. The electronic map on the screen flickers, confirming his current location. The man walks up the stairs with determination, his every step filled with resolve. He feels that he is nearing the end of his task. When he arrives at the door, he bangs on it with his fist and asks, "Who is it?" His voice sounds desperate, almost demanding. A young man opens the door, looking at the stranger in surprise. "Who are you?" he asks, trying to understand the visitor's intentions. "Is this where Ho Jong-tai lives?" the man asks eagerly, hoping to finally find the man he has been looking for so long. But the guy replies that he doesn't know who he's talking about. The blonde claims to live in this apartment alone, but his answer seems incomplete to the man with the sword and red hair. He notices a detail in the apartment that catches his attention. His eyes are drawn to a gun lying on the kitchen table. This object does not seem to be a household item, but rather a danger indicator. "Are you a professional hunter?" the man asks, trying to find out if his interlocutor is part of the larger, dangerous world he knows well. The guy, realizing that he might have accidentally revealed more than he intended, is concerned that he left his gun in a visible place. His surprise grows at the realization that he may have exposed himself. However, he answers cautiously and cryptically, "This world is an unpredictable place. I decided to leave something behind for self-defense." This answer leaves room for further reflection on his true role in a vast world of mystery and danger. After a short conversation with the blonde man, the man with the sword apologizes for disturbing him and is about to leave, closing the door behind him. He decided not to engage in conflict, realizing that this meeting did not bring the desired result. However, before he can get far, the man notices that the door is quietly opening again. From behind the crack, the blonde man watches him carefully, as if reassessing the situation. At this moment, a gun materializes in the blonde man's hands and he begins to smile. This gesture indicates a change in his intentions and a possible desire to stop the man in an unusual way. Pointing the gun at the man through the narrow doorway, the blonde man prepares to shoot. This moment is full of tension, as it becomes clear that the blonde man is not just a civilian, but someone who is ready to use a weapon. The man with the sword and red hair, as it turns out, is not so defenseless. He intuitively sensed the threat and instantly pulls his sword out of its sheath, ready to respond. With a swift and confident movement, he unleashes a lightning-like energy strike with his sword in the direction of the blonde. This attack demonstrates his skill and ability to react instantly to danger. After this fight, the man realizes that he has found the man he was looking for. This event confirms his suspicions about the blonde's true identity and his involvement in dangerous activities. In response to the blonde man's attempt to escape, the man ironically comments, "You should have taken the safety off." This phrase not only emphasizes the superiority in the fight, but also adds a mocking tone to the situation, showing the man's confidence in his abilities. A decisive kick to the blonde man's back quickly ends his attempt to escape, causing him to fall to the floor, where he lies panting and coughing. This moment emphasizes the superiority of the man with the sword in a physical confrontation. The blonde man is surrounded, with swords pointed at his head on both sides, emphasizing his helplessness and the swordman's willingness to use them if necessary. Holding the blonde man at gunpoint, the man demands to know everything he knows about Ho Jong-tai, showing his determination to find out the truth. The blonde man, finding himself in a desperate situation, begins to speak. "I saw him only once. He told me to kill anyone who comes looking for him." This testimony indicates that Ho Jong-tai is a dangerous personality, ready to take radical actions to remain unnoticed. "All I know is that he is a loner who is carefully hiding. I don't know who is behind him." The blonde man continues. His words emphasize Ho Jong-tai's mysteriousness and caution, as well as the difficulty of the task facing the man with the sword. Despite the information he has received, the man with the sword continues to press, trying to find out who might be covering for the blonde, suspecting that someone more powerful is behind his actions. However, realizing that the blonde man is unable to provide any more useful information, the man decides to leave the room. His disappointment is palpable, but he realizes the need to regroup and continue the search from a different angle. Has the Youngpyeong investigation been stopped? He wonders, rethinking the situation and his next steps. Thinking about the potential stoppage of the investigation prompts him to look for new avenues. Suddenly, something on the outskirts of the city catches his eye. An unexpected discovery forces him to change his course of action. There is an increased police presence on the streets, which makes the man question the reason for such activity in this part of the city. Cautiously hiding behind the corner of a building, he watches the police officer's actions, realizing that he will not be able to return now without risking being seen. The determination to remain unnoticed becomes his priority in this dangerous situation. When the police noticed movement around the corner of the building, they loudly asked if someone was hiding there, preparing to check the area. At first, the man thought he was ambushed and was thinking about ways to get out of this situation, but suddenly found an unexpected solution. Kang Guo decides to meet the police and asks them if they are representatives of a public security agency, trying to interact with them as an ordinary citizen. He addresses the police with a request while smiling, trying to divert their attention away from him and shift the focus of the conversation to another topic. Kang Guo tells the police that a hunter has stolen something from a building on the main road, directing their attention to a fictional story to distract them from the real reason for his presence in the place. This distraction allowed him to elude the police, effectively avoiding an ambush and continuing his search without further interference. Disappearing into the winding streets between the high-rise buildings, Kang Guo becomes elusive again, leaving only surprised and bewildered police officers behind. Explore what the next step is for Kang Guo after successfully avoiding an ambush. Explore what new information or allies can help Kang Guo in his further search. Reveal whether Kang Guo will face new challenges or enemies along the way. In the darkness of the library, where the only source of light is the moonlight, a man stands. He is deep in thought, surrounded by books and silence that seems almost tangible. Turning the pages of an old album, he stops at a photo of himself with a friend, a former policeman. This photo triggers a flood of memories and emotions. He recalls the old days when his friend congratulated him on another achievement or success. These memories remind him of the important moments of their friendship and the journey they have traveled together. His friend once said to him, "Listen, it's not easy to get there and it's even harder to work there, so you're working with the Purification Guild." These words reflected surprise and interest, but also hinted at respect for his choice of path. "Great. Leave it to me," he said with a sly smile on his face. This expression expressed a willingness to support and take on some of the responsibility, demonstrating sincerity and commitment to the friendship. The man's friend with the red hair, trying to reassure him, assures him that he will take care of everything while he is in Seoul. His words radiate confidence and hope for support. To each his own, the man with the red hair thinks, reflecting on his friend's words. This phrase symbolizes acceptance of one's own challenges and responsibilities, as well as respect for everyone's choices. But suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by an unexpected visitor who enters the library and disturbs the peace. "It was you," the man says when he sees Kang Guo. His reaction reveals his surprise at seeing a familiar face in such an unexpected place. The man also wonders how Kang Guo knew he was in town, indicating an understanding of his skills and connections. Kang Guo addresses him by his first name, Du Hong, demonstrating his familiarity not only with the man's identity, but also with his past and connections. He also gives his full details. Level 362, place of work, Seoul Metropolitan Police Department. This indicates Kang Guo's deep research and his ability to gather information on individuals who may be important to his goal. Do-hyun is taken aback by Kang Guo's words. He asks if Kang Guo was looking for information about him, or if they both work for the police, while keeping his sword at the ready for any turn of events. Kang Guo assures him that he is not a police officer, but he knows that Do-hyun is looking for some information, which further alarms the man. Holding out his hand in a gesture of cooperation, Kang Guo asks if Do-hyun would like to work with him. This gesture could be the beginning of a new alliance between them. At this point, the scene shifts to a girl Kang Guo knows who is engaged in buying resources from hunters. She is engaged in a dialogue with one of them, showing her interest in further cooperation. With a smile, she tells the hunter that he is a great customer, and promises to recommend him to her boss, Shi Huan, hinting at potential prospects for both parties. Suddenly, their dialogue is interrupted when someone suddenly bursts into the room, leaving them both in shock of surprise. It's Seo Woo, who bursts into the office, reacting aggressively to the situation. She is holding some important documents that are likely to be key to the unfolding events. Standing in front of the meeting participants, Soe Wee waves the document in her hands, proudly announcing that she has finally found what she was looking for. Her energetic appearance and the news she brings instantly captures the attention of everyone present. The reactions of the others to her appearance are mixed. They are embarrassed to see her unexpectedly. Her sudden entry into the room seemed unwelcome to them, perhaps because of the potential conflicts or tensions that So Wee might have brought with her. The atmosphere in the room escalates as So Wee begins to radiate the formidable energy of her power, emphasizing the seriousness of the moment. She addresses Sophie with a direct question. Why did you come? This question calls into question her motives and reasons for such an unexpected visit. Sophie, trying to calm the tense atmosphere, replies to Seo Wee that she has come with peaceful intentions. Don't worry, I came in peace today. Her words are aimed at lowering the tension and indicating that there is no threat from her visit. Sophie then gets to the point of her visit, poking at the dossier on Kang Guo and asking So Wee, "Do you know who this is?" Her question hints that she has brought information that may be important or unexpected to Seo Woo. When confronted with the dossier, Seo Woo stares at it in confusion, not understanding what Kang Guo is doing with it, or what Sophie is trying to show. Her reaction reveals her surprise and perhaps even misunderstanding of Sophie's motives and the information she is trying to present. Returning to the situation between Kang Guo and Do-hyun, Do-hyun expresses concern about Kang Guo's actions, asking why he was digging for him. Kang Guo reassures him, saying that he wasn't looking for dirt on Do-hyun, but that he was aware of Jong Tai's reasons for looking for him. Kang Guo then offers to cooperate, wondering if Do-hyun is interested in such a partnership. Do-hyun, surprised by this turn of events, asks what terms of cooperation Kang Guo is offering. Kang Guo wonders if Do-hyun thinks that finding Jong Tai will solve all the problems, hinting at the complexity of the case. He adds that even as an officer of the Seoul Police Department, Do-hyun was unable to get information about his friend because the case was too complicated. Kang Guo notes that it was impossible to find information about his friend because he is under the jurisdiction of the Yangpyeong district, which is beyond the scope of regular police. Do-hyun agrees, admitting that it is indeed beyond their authority, which confirms the complexity of the situation and the need to find an unconventional approach to solving it. Kang Guo recalls a recent situation with the police, noting that Do-hyun almost got into trouble, but he almost managed to get away with it. This is a hint that Do-hyun has some skills or connections that help him avoid trouble with the law. Do-hyun doesn't understand what Kang Guo is getting at first, showing that he may not be fully aware of the full extent of his situation or the consequences of his actions. Kang Guo reveals that Do-hyun has a powerful patron who guides his actions and influences his life. This information adds a new level of insight into their relationship and their situation. Do-hyun's patron is so influential that even the public security agency has taken notice of him, which emphasizes his high status and ability to influence events in the country. He is not just an influential personality, but someone with limitless influence who can easily manipulate events and people around him. Do-hyun admits that he doesn't know the man's identity, but he thinks it's best not to cross his path. He begins to reflect on his journey and the encounters that have taken place throughout his life. Do-hyun realizes that Yang Pyong is outside their jurisdiction, and he realizes that he cannot cope with this task alone. This indicates that without Kang Gaoen's help and cooperation, he will not be able to achieve his goal. Do-hyun, full of doubts about Kang Go's revelation, tries to understand who this powerful personality behind many events and influencing the lives of many people could be. Kang Guo reveals that one of the key figures of the Purification Guild is behind all these events, emphasizing its importance and influence on events in the world of hunters. For Do-hyun, all of this information is difficult to fit into one coherent picture, and he tries to put the pieces together, but still feels confused. Despite this, he concludes that Kang Go's words may sound unconvincing, but Kang Go does not insist on blind faith and leaves the decision up to Do-hyun. What unites them is the common goal that they both want to achieve, which gives grounds for potential cooperation between them. Kang Go offers to meet tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the square, promising that Do-hyun will be able to see everything with his own eyes and get answers to his questions. He assures him that this is not a trap, but advises Do-hyun to conduct his own investigation if he still has doubts. This offer shows Kang Go's willingness to let Do-hyun decide for himself what to believe, emphasizing the importance of trust and independent judgment in their potential collaboration. Kang Go makes a promise to Do-hyun to keep his word and expresses his hope for their future cooperation. In return, I will keep my promise to you. I look forward to our cooperation. The scene moves back to the office where Sophie has created a real chaos, attracting the attention of everyone there. She asks Irina if she knows Kang Guo. Looking at the document, Irin realizes that it is about Kang Go, whom she has heard of. The realization that Eclipse is so interested in Kang Guo that they even sent this dog after him causes Irene to be skeptical. She tries to bluff him by denying her knowledge of Kang Go. Sophie, unable to tolerate a lie, shouts at Irina for her ridiculous attempts at deception, claiming that she has already checked everything and knows more than Irina assumes. Finding herself in a dead end, Irina admits that perhaps there were some agreements between them, but that everything was complicated by certain conditions, without specifying what exactly they are talking about. Irina decisively warns Sophie that if she does not want to get into a conflict, she should leave the room. Her words sound like a final warning, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. Sophie, feeling intense anger but holding it in, tries to remain calm. She can barely contain her emotions, realizing that she desperately needs the information that Irina can provide. Despite her internal struggle, Sophie decides not to escalate the conflict and appeals to Irene not to deceive her. She asks her to be frank, emphasizing the importance of honesty in their interaction. Unable to contain her anger, Sophie leaves the office, unwilling to endure the tense atmosphere any longer. Her exit is an expression of despair and disagreement with the situation. The hunter who witnessed this scene is given a new task by Irina to follow Sophie. Irin wants to know where Sophie will go after their meeting, emphasizing the need to control her actions and find out what her next steps might be. Irene considers how having information about Sophie can strengthen her relationship with Shin Kang-zu, noting the importance of this information in building stronger alliances. She realizes that this knowledge gives her an advantage and the ability to influence events. The bright summer sun is shining over the city, creating the atmosphere of an ordinary day, while under its rays events are unfolding that could change the lives of several people. A man with a phone in his hand reads a message indicating that there is someone in the city who is actively sought by Hong Jong-tai. This information seems valuable to him, opening up new possibilities. He smiles, calling everyone around him idiots, and confidently steps forward, convinced of his superiority. His confidence is based on the fact that others do not see the obvious, which opens up prospects for him. But he is being followed by an unknown masked person, walking in the shadows of the streets. This mysterious figure may have his own plans for the man, or keep his own secrets that could affect the development of further events. Under the mask that followed the man, it turns out to be Kang Go. He enters into a dialogue with him in the midst of the day, puzzling the man with his unexpected presence and comments. With his eyes impenetrable and shining, Kangguo notices that the man is late, hinting that there may have been an agreement between them or an important moment that the man missed. Kangguo analyzes the man's power, realizing that he belongs to the Dark Priests and uses the malignant constellation, which allows him to hide in the dark and carry out his plans unnoticed. This man turns out to be a member of the constellation of hunters, servants of neutral or good constellations who have unique abilities and skills. When Kangguo calls him by name, the man replies that there has been a mistake and denies that he is Zhongtai. This indicates a possible misunderstanding between them or an attempt by the man to hide his true identity. In response to Kangguo's attempt to use blinding, the guy, presumably Zhongtai, actively dodges the attack, demonstrating his defense skills. He desperately tries to remain unharmed and not lose control of the situation, punching the ground to activate the disappearance into darkness. Yong makes a swift maneuver, disappearing from Kangguo's sight to avoid having his mind taken over by the darkness. This desperate move shows his ability to quickly adapt to unforeseen circumstances. In his attempt to escape from Kangguo, Zhong does his best to keep the distance between them, as evidenced by his forward movement in search of a way out of this situation. In the process of escaping, Zhong realizes that Kangguo is a strong and unknown opponent who was able to instantly apply blinding, as evidenced by his significant resistance to Zhongtai's skills. Realizing that Kangguo could be the one who has been looking for him all this time, Zhong prepares for a possible confrontation by analyzing his opponent and taking a fighting stance. In response to these actions, Kangguo remains calm, hands in his pockets, maintaining intrigue and seemingly confident in his actions and strategy, without showing open aggression or intent to attack. Under the pressure of the circumstances, Zhong realizes that Kangguo is not only aware of his skills, but is also able to penetrate his hiding place. This realization forces Zhong to take drastic measures. Zhong decisively pulls out a pair of knives from his pocket and throws them towards Kangguo with the intention of killing him. This gesture is a desperate attempt to stop an enemy who threatens his freedom and safety. In parallel to this duel, Sophie conducts her own investigation, using her skills to interrogate one of the men nearby. She sets his shoulder on fire to demand information. The man, under brutal pressure, begs for mercy and swears that he knows nothing about the situation or Kangguo. His plea shows fear and desperation. Sophie, unfazed by his pleas, snaps her fingers and ignores his words, claiming she has no idea who Kangguo is. She continues to use her fiery skills, causing the man to catch fire, demonstrating her uncompromising approach to obtaining information. Sophie is wrapped up in memories and emotions that haunt her. She keeps following Kangguo, but to no avail, which only deepens her frustration and despair. She recalls a moment at the club when Kangguo seemed interested in working together, leaving her his business card with the words that she could contact him in case of emergency. But now, when she really needs his help, he seems to have disappeared without a trace, leaving her with questions and frustration. Her boss reacts to her attempts to find Kangguo with insight, hinting that if Kangguo joins their team, he could become a serious rival for her, which gives Sophie mixed feelings. From that moment on, Sophie's peace of mind is lost. She is constantly trying to resolve her internal conflicts and find answers to the questions that torment her. Constantly thinking about Kangguo and her personal competition with him prevents her from finding peace in her heart and soul. The realization that, according to her master, Kangguo is the enemy, encourages Sophie to persevere even more in her search and to think about what to do next. This information only strengthens her determination to get on Kangguo's trail. The situation causes Sophie great confusion and emotional tension, as she finds herself faced with a moral choice between serving her master and her personal beliefs. Against the backdrop of the destruction caused by her own actions, Sophie declares that everyone is wrong about Kangguo. Her words reflect her inner conflict and desire to find her own way through this complex story. From Sophie's statement, "I think the master will understand and forgive me. If I kill this Shin Kang-hu by mistake, it is clear that she considers the possibility of assassinating Kangguo as part of her plan. This shows her willingness to go to extreme lengths to prove herself or protect her interests, even if it involves risking a mistake or misunderstanding with the master." The scene escalates when knives fly at Kangguo from all directions, which Zhang launches from different directions in an attempt to hit him. This attack symbolizes Zhang's attempt to hit his opponent at any cost. In response to this aggression, Kang Go activates an energy shield that effectively deflects all the knives. This moment demonstrates his preparedness and ability to counter the enemy's attacks. Zhang is shocked to see his attack easily neutralized. He wonders where Kang Go got the skill that allowed him to defend himself so easily. Without slowing down, Zhang launches another attack, grabbing a set of shurikens and throwing them in Kang Go's direction. This attempt shows his desperation to achieve his goal. However, Kang Go remains invulnerable, not even taking his hands out of his pockets. His calmness and control of the situation only reinforce the impression of his strength and ability to withstand even the strongest attacks. Zhang decides to attack from close range and rushes in, but Kang Go activates the abduction technique, which captures Zhang and takes him to a close distance from the hero. Chan was not ready for such a move and did not understand it. Why the hell is